The day I discovered my husband's betrayal began like any other Tuesday. I remember the morning sunlight streaming through our kitchen window as I prepared breakfast, humming to myself, completely unaware that by evening, my entire world would crumble beneath my feet. My name is Madeleine, and for 7 years, I believed I had the perfect marriage to David. We met in graduate school, built successful careers in the same corporate law firm, and purchased our dream home in the suburbs last year. Our friends called us the power couple, always in sync, always supportive of each other. At least, that was the illusion I had been living in. I could not have predicted how dramatically my life would change when I received a text message from an unknown number that morning. You should know what your husband does on his business trips. Check his laptop. Password Stella 1988. I stared at my phone, my heart suddenly pounding in my chest. My first instinct was to dismiss it as a cruel prank. David was respected, dependable, honest. He could not possibly be hiding anything from me. Yet the specific mention of a password made my stomach tighten with dread. I tried to focus on work that day, but the message haunted me. By afternoon, I found myself driving home early, my hands trembling on the steering wheel. Our house was empty and silent. David was away on what he claimed was a 3-day conference in Chicago. His laptop sat on his desk in the home office, innocent and unassuming. I should not have done it. I should not have violated his privacy. That is what I told myself as I opened it and typed in Stella 1988. A password I had never seen before. Not his usual combination of our anniversary and pet's name. The screen unlocked. My blood ran cold as I navigated to his email. There was an account I had never seen before, separate from his work and personal emails I knew about. The inbox contained hundreds of messages between David and someone named Stella. The oldest dated back 3 years. I clicked on a recent exchange, and my entire body went numb. Miss you already. Last night was incredible. Stella had written just yesterday. Yesterday, when David was supposedly at a business dinner with clients. Counting the hours until I can hold you again, he had replied. I scrolled through message after message, photograph after photograph. My vision blurred with tears as I discovered not just an affair, but an entire parallel life my husband had been leading. Stella was not just some random woman. She was his colleague from the Boston office. Someone he had introduced me to at company events. Someone who had smiled at me and made small talk, while secretly sharing my husband's bed. There were hotel receipts, flight confirmations for trips they had taken together, trips I believed were work-related. There were even discussions about their future, about how and when he would leave me. Madeleine is too focused on her career, he had written in one email. She would not even notice if I disappeared for good. The pain was physical, a crushing weight on my chest making it difficult to breathe. I sat there for hours, piecing together the elaborate deception that had been my marriage. By the time darkness fell outside, pain had crystallized into something harder, colder. Rage. I closed the laptop and poured myself a glass of whiskey, David's expensive Macallan, that he saved for special occasions. This was certainly a special occasion. The death of my marriage, and the birth of something new within me. I did not cry. I did not break things. Instead, I began to plan. The first thing I needed was evidence. Irrefutable proof of their affair that neither David nor our colleagues could deny. I transferred the emails to a secure drive and photographed the most damning exchanges. I noted dates, locations, amounts spent on their trysts from our joint account. Then I called my old college friend Vanessa, who had become a private investigator. I need surveillance, I told her, my voice steady. And I need absolute discretion. Vanessa did not ask questions. That is why I trusted her. Within 24 hours, she had positioned herself near the Chicago hotel, where David was supposedly attending his conference. By evening, she sent me photographs of David and Stella entering a different hotel together, his arm around her waist, her head resting on his shoulder. I felt nothing looking at those images. The initial shock had been replaced by cold determination. Keep following them, I instructed Vanessa. I need to know everything. Over the next 2 days, while David sent me routine text messages about boring conference panels and networking dinners, Vanessa documented his romantic dinners, shopping trips, and hotel stays with Stella. When David returned home, I greeted him with a kiss and asked about his trip. The ease with which he lied to my face was remarkable. He spoke of presentations and meetings, of corporate dinners and handshakes, all while looking directly into my eyes. "You seem tired," I said, touching his cheek gently. "The conference was exhausting," he replied, covering my hand with his. "But productive." "I am sure it was," I said, smiling. That night, as he slept beside me, I finalized my revenge plan. It would not be swift or simple. David's betrayal had been calculated and prolonged. His punishment would be equally methodical. Phase 1 began the following Monday. David and I worked at the same prestigious law firm, Harrington and Beck, where he was being considered for partnership. This promotion meant everything to him. It was the culmination of years of networking and strategic case selections. The partners were voting in 3 weeks. I scheduled lunch with Eleanor Beck, the founding partner and a woman who had mentored me since I joined the firm. Over salads at her favorite restaurant, I confided in her. "Eleanor, I am struggling with an ethical dilemma," I began. "It concerns David." Eleanor's sharp eyes focused on me. She had always appreciated directness. "I discovered something troubling," I continued, producing a folder with select evidence of David's affair with Stella Richardson from the Boston office. David and Stella have been involved in an inappropriate relationship for years. They have been using firm resources, billing their rendezvous as business expenses, and misrepresenting their whereabouts to both me and the firm. Eleanor reviewed the documents silently, her expression hardening. "You understand what bringing this to me means for David's partnership prospects," she said finally. It was not a question. "I do," I replied. "But our firm cannot afford a partner who demonstrates such poor judgment and ethical flexibility. If he would betray his wife and misuse company resources, what else might he do?" Eleanor nodded slowly. "I appreciate your integrity, Madeleine. This could not have been easy. Doing the right thing rarely is," I answered. I did not tell Eleanor that this was just the beginning. Phase 2 involved our social circle. David and I had cultivated relationships with influential couples in our professional sphere: judges, politicians, business executives. These connections were invaluable to David's career ambitions. I organized a dinner party at our home the following weekend, inviting 6 key couples. David was delighted, assuming this was another opportunity to charm potential allies before the partnership announcement. The evening progressed pleasantly until dessert, when I gently tapped my wine glass to gain everyone's attention. "I want to thank you all for coming tonight," I began, smiling warmly. "Your friendship means the world to us. In fact, I believe in our friendship so much that I wanted to share some personal news with you before it becomes public." David smiled at me encouragingly, completely unaware of what was coming. "David and I will be separating," I announced, my voice steady. "I recently discovered his long-term affair with a colleague from our Boston office. They have been involved for 3 years. The room fell silent. David's face drained of color. "Madeleine," he whispered, horrified. I turned to him, maintaining my composed demeanor. "I thought it would be better coming from us directly, rather than through gossip. Our friends deserve honesty, do they not?" Judge Martin Keller, whose recommendation was crucial for David's political aspirations, stared at him with undisguised disappointment. Councilwoman Jennifer Hayes, whose husband had suffered publicly from an affair scandal years ago, reached for my hand sympathetically. "I am so sorry you are going through this, Madeleine," she said. "Your dignity in handling this speaks volumes about your character." By the time our guests awkwardly departed, David's social capital had evaporated. He remained in the dining room, his head in his hands. "Why would you do this?" he demanded once we were alone. "You have destroyed everything I worked for." "No, David," I replied calmly. "You destroyed it when you decided that your vows meant nothing." Phase 3 was financial. While David was distracted by the professional and social fallout of my careful revelations, I consulted with the best divorce attorney in the state. Coincidentally, a woman whose nonprofit organization I had done extensive pro bono work for over the years. "I need everything I am legally entitled to," I told her. "And I need him to feel every penny of it." We worked methodically, tracing all marital assets and documenting every instance where David had spent our joint funds on Stella. My attorney was brilliant, identifying tax inconsistencies in David's personal filings that would create additional leverage. Meanwhile, at work, Eleanor had called David into a closed-door meeting with the executive committee. He returned to his office ashen-faced, avoiding eye contact with everyone. Later that day, an announcement circulated that David's client accounts would be redistributed, while certain administrative matters were resolved. I maintained perfect professionalism at the office, expressing appropriate regret when colleagues asked about the situation. These things are unfortunate but sometimes reveal people's true characters, I would say with dignified sadness. I am focused on moving forward with integrity. Phase 4 involved Stella. My investigator Vanessa had compiled an extensive dossier on her career history, including evidence that she had misrepresented her qualifications on her resume when applying to the firm. Additionally, there were emails where she and David had shared confidential client information between offices without proper authorization, a serious breach of firm protocol. I did not approach Stella directly. Instead, I forwarded the relevant information to both the HR director at our firm and the Massachusetts Bar Association Ethics Committee. Within days, Stella was placed on administrative leave pending investigation. The final phase of my plan was perhaps the most devastating for David. Our shared home, the colonial revival we had purchased together, where he envisioned hosting partners from the firm and eventually raising children, was solely in my name. David had been between investment cycles when we bought it, and putting the property in my name alone had offered certain tax advantages he had been eager to utilize. When David arrived home one evening 2 weeks after my initial discovery, he found the locks changed and his belongings packed in boxes on the porch. "You cannot do this," he protested when I answered the door but remained in the threshold, blocking his entry. "This is my home too." "Actually, it is not," I replied, handing him a letter from my attorney. "As you can see, legal ownership rests solely with me. You have 24 hours to collect your possessions before they are donated to charity." "Where am I supposed to go?" he demanded, his voice cracking. "Perhaps Stella has room," I suggested, though I hear she is dealing with some professional complications at the moment. Unfortunate timing. His face contorted with anger and disbelief. "I never thought you could be this cruel. And I never thought you could be this deceitful," I countered. We were both wrong about each other. 3 months later, my divorce was finalized on terms overwhelmingly favorable to me. David had lost his partnership opportunity and subsequently resigned from the firm to pursue other opportunities, a euphemism for being asked to leave quietly. Stella had been terminated for ethics violations and faced a bar inquiry. Their relationship, unsurprisingly, had not survived the mutual professional destruction. I, meanwhile, had been assigned several of David's former clients who specifically requested to continue working with me. Eleanor had taken me under her wing more deliberately, inviting me to client meetings that partners typically handled. Our social circle had closed ranks around me, impressed by my resilience and dignity throughout the ordeal. One evening, as I sat in my home office reviewing case files, my phone buzzed with a text message from an unknown number. "You destroyed my life," David had written. "I hope you're satisfied." I considered the message for a long moment before responding. "I did not destroy your life, David. I merely ensured you experience consequences for your choices. There is a difference." I blocked his number immediately afterward and returned to my work. The heaviness that had plagued me since discovering his betrayal had lifted weeks ago, replaced by a sense of freedom I had not anticipated. In dismantling the falseness of my marriage, I had discovered my own strength, a power I had always possessed but never fully recognized. 6 months after my divorce was finalized, I was invited to speak at a women's leadership conference about resilience in professional settings. As I stood at the podium looking out at the audience of ambitious women, I felt a profound sense of purpose. "Sometimes we are tested in ways we never imagined," I told them. "The betrayals we experience, personal or professional, are not meant to break us. They are opportunities to discover what we are truly capable of." In the audience, I noticed Eleanor nodding approvingly. Beside her sat two senior partners from rival firms who had recently approached me about lateral moves, with significant promotions attached. Never allow someone else's poor character to diminish your light, I continued. Instead, use that clarity to illuminate your own path forward. After the conference, Eleanor approached me with an unusual smile, the kind that suggested she had been keeping a secret. The partnership committee met yesterday, she said without preamble. We would like to offer you David's former position. The vote was unanimous. I absorbed this news with measured satisfaction. Thank you, Eleanor. That means a great deal coming from you. Do not thank me, she replied. You earned this through your own merit and integrity, though I must admit, watching how methodically you handled your personal crisis confirmed what I have always suspected about you. And what is that? I asked. That you possess exactly the kind of strategic thinking and unflinching resolve that makes an exceptional partner. She touched my arm lightly. Just remind me never to cross you. I smiled. I doubt you would ever give me reason to. 1 year to the day after receiving that anonymous text message that changed everything, I closed on a new home. A sleek, modern house overlooking the lake, purchased entirely with my partnership bonus. As I stood on the balcony, watching the sunset reflect on the water, my phone rang. It was Vanessa, my investigator friend. Just checking in, she said. Anniversary of sorts today, is it not? It is, I confirmed. Any regrets? She asked. I considered the question seriously. About exposing the truth? None. About the years I spent with someone who could betray me so completely? Some. But they are outweighed by what I gained. Which is the knowledge that I am capable of handling whatever life throws at me, I replied. And that justice, when pursued patiently and strategically, is truly satisfying. After we hung up, I opened my laptop to review the anonymous email account I had created a year ago. The one I had used to send myself that initial anonymous tip about checking David's computer. The truth was more complicated than anyone knew. I had suspected David's infidelity for months before that day. Small inconsistencies in his stories, changes in his behavior, intuition that something was wrong. I had discovered his password accidentally weeks earlier, when he entered it on his laptop, while I was standing behind him. I could have confronted him immediately, created a scene, thrown his clothes onto the front lawn like wronged wives did in movies. But that would have given him the opportunity to control the narrative, to paint me as unstable or unreasonable to our colleagues and friends. Instead, I chose patience, strategic planning, complete victory. I closed the laptop and raised my wine glass to my reflection in the window. To justice, I whispered. Served exactly as it should be, cold. That night, I slept more peacefully than I had in years, secure in the knowledge that I had not just survived betrayal. I had transcended it. David had underestimated me, assumed my kindness was weakness, my trust was blindness. His mistake had cost him everything, while I had emerged stronger, more successful, and finally completely free. I would never again allow anyone to make me feel diminished or deceived. I had learned the most valuable lesson. Revenge is not about destroying others. It is about reclaiming your own power. And mine was just beginning to show itself. As I drifted off to sleep, I smiled at the thought of the text I had received from Eleanor earlier that evening. Major client meeting tomorrow. International expansion opportunity. Your office 9 a.m. The future stretched before me, limitless and bright. A future I had carved out with my own hands from the ruins of betrayal. That perhaps was the sweetest revenge of all.